Welcome to a field edition of IT Nation Wise Up. I'm Matt Topper here with Dave Maik and Sean Lardo. Dave, you want to do an intro so that anyone watching knows who you are and what you do before we get to the meat of the content?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Dave Maik. I'm the channel director for DefensX. I look after all things DefensX in the market here in North America. Mainly doing a lot of events, obviously. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you know that I'm really all over the place.
True words have been spoken.
So we're at an event and we were talking pre-show about what we should go over. And how did you decide what event to go to, right? Why here? Or how did you make that decision?
Right. So as a newer vendor and a startup vendor, it's very difficult to understand the landscape of this market. There is literally shows every week, and you could be on the road every week of the year. I took the time to just discuss with a lot of people, a lot of key people in the industry. It's actually how I met Sean. Had a conversation with him, and I asked everybody, give me your top 10 shows that you would go to over the year or through a year. And I basically took the list and then drew a line where the matching was. And that's how I basically decided what shows to go to. Did that last year, and the system worked.
So once you made that decision, right? So you got here, and especially when you were brand new to the space, what do you do when you get here? How do you make the most of your time at a show
Don't
as a new
sleep.
vendor? Don't sleep
Don't
ever?
sleep.
Ever? Coffee all day?
Coffee all day. You gotta, yeah, you're just networking, right? That's the biggest point. You gotta be out at night. You gotta go to the parties at the shows.
Yes.
You gotta be mingling, of course, being in your booth and having a way to draw people into your booth. And it's meeting people. It's creating your own network, right,
Yeah.
of people. And that's how people are going to get to know you. And as a newer vendor, get to know your product.
So you said something pre-show that I think would be worth expanding on, and that is the idea of not just being in your booth and waiting for people to come visit you,
Right.
getting out there. I think it can be hard for people in this industry specifically because there are so many engineers turned entrepreneurs. How do you get out there and start pulling people in that are walking by instead of just waiting for them? Like, how do you approach finding potential people to talk to?
One way is definitely don't sit down in your booth. Be standing up, be in front of your booth, and approaching people. Right, that's the key thing. You gotta be just out and wanting to pull people in and talk to them as they're
You have to
going
be
by.
welcoming.
You have to be welcoming. Yeah.
Don't sit at the table. Don't put a table in front of you.
Correct.
Most
100%.
most times I push a table to the back and just put something on it. Put your swag on it or whatever. You end up becoming a gatekeeper for a good swag.
Right. Obviously, good swag is good. Obviously, there's a lot of shirts going around at these shows, but
Yes.
yeah, don't just let your stuff sit there. Use it as a tool to talk to people and then give them that for spending some time.
Yeah, you're
with you.
dangling the carrot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But shirts. Can we just talk about swag for 1 second?
Sure, absolutely.
Nobody wants your logo on a shirt. Nobody cares. You're not Nike. They want something
Correct.
cool on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a good quality shirt.
Exactly.
Good quality shirt.
It should be something I want to wear to the gym.
Yeah.
Right? And because you're enabling people to be a constant advertisement for you.
Yep.
So give them you wouldn't pay for a bad billboard. You wouldn't pay for a bad any signage anywhere, ever. Same rules apply here.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't, and you're talking about a difference of 75 cents a shirt.
Correct. Correct. I think the key is don't give away junk
Right.
because that stuff ends up staying in the hotel room and the maids pick it up.
It's also a representation of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you give crappy swag out, then maybe it
probably a
reflects on
crappy
your
vendor.
product. Yeah.
Even if
exactly.
you're not, you have the best product ever. It does not matter.
Correct.
And I added one more thing to you talked about, how do you make it work when you're at a show? There's prep involved in this, right? You have the basic prep stuff of what's your booth like messaging and swag, right? That's a given traditional thing. But for the individual to own the own outcome, like when I was coming up through the ranks of this, I would go and look at what the conference schedule was like weeks in advance,
Right,
and I would
100%.
look at who all the speakers were, especially the main speakers, and I would literally make them part of my prospecting list to generate relationships, not deals, but just to make friends.
Yeah.
And I would literally reach out to every one of them on LinkedIn and ask them with a personal message, hey, thank you for connecting. I'm going to be at this event. This is the first time to come to the event. I see that you actually did very well there, and you're one of the main speakers. if you have any time and I can buy you a drink just so you can maybe give me the lay of the land a little bit, and I'd like to learn from you because you've done so much there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and that's one thing, right? And then you end up scheduling meetings with them there at the show. That's one. Two, you look at the event as a whole. People just say, "Oh, I'm there for networking here, here, and there." That's not, and also we have booth time here, here, and that's not where it ends.
That's right.
It is literally, you need to be, people need to see you the whole time.
And to add on that, a face of the company, right?
Yes.
I know it's tiring to do these shows and you're on your feet and there's a lot to do, a lot of shows to do. Unfortunately, you need one person to be that representation of your company. So I wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't send somebody different to all the different shows and mix it up. There's got to be that one constant. That's the person that's really the face of the company.
Right.
So we talked about just a few minutes ago getting started if you're maybe an engineer who has a product or a product guy. How do you start getting out there and making it's difficult for technical guys to start getting out there and meeting people. Like, do you have any advice for someone who maybe built a product and how to start getting out there and networking?
Find a dynamic person to help talk about your product and meet people. And we just talked about this about an hour ago, how I don't sell.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just here to create a network of people that I want to hang out with, that want to learn about technology, want to learn about my product. It all fits in eventually, right? So you need someone that's dynamic, that can go out there and really network. That's what it's all wrapped in. And talk, just to go back about the shows, it's pre, it's during, and it's post.
Absolutely. But let's expand on that, on the engineer thing. We know that a majority of the owners here were or are currently MSPs, vendors, also MSPs themselves, same people, still to this day.
Yep.
And almost all of them have a tech background for the most part. They're mostly engineers, and they're very linear in their thought process, right? And they fall in love with their baby that they birthed, right? And that's this product. Messaging is so crucial, but not long-winded messaging.
Yes.
Nobody needs a long-winded message. You need to be able to boil it down. If you can't say what you do in 3 bullets or less, you've overextended yourself in your communication.
Yeah. You don't want to bore people.
Right.
And they're busy here, right? They've got how many booths to go see. They got time to go to sessions. So they don't want to hang in your booth for a half hour and listen to you, talk or see a demo for
They're
that
trying
matter.
to see every booth, right?
Don't
the
do
demos
demos
next week.
Don't, exactly.
Right. Well, you're there to be their friend. Nobody wants you to sit there. You can't be a stage 5 clinger, right?
Yeah.
You can't be, right?
Yeah.
So here's the point of it all. Back to have a dynamic person, of course, but that's only one person. That's not scalable, right?
Right.
What is scalable is your messaging
Yeah.
and enabling people that work with you to be able to talk about it. Back to the bullets. If you can narrow it down and tell your 22-year-old new hire, these are 3 things you say.
Right.
And then shut your face.
Yeah.
Perfect, right? Teach everybody, repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat,
yep.
right? The whole time. Simple thing to do. After you do write your bullets and you formalize what you're going to say, go pitch to your mother, your sister, your daughter, your wife. They will give you the most honest feedback.
Right.
But they don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Seriously, if they look at you and they're like, you don't expect them to understand if you use a certain word that the industry would know if they're not in the industry, right? But if they can understand just from the context, something enough to ask a question like, oh, so are you saying X? Then you know you've got something.
Yeah.
And the true of that elevator pitch, right? You got to have an elevator pitch. When you're in the booth, somebody drives by and they look at you and you're new, and they go, and this has happened to me countless times, is, what do you do?
Oh, yeah,
and
I love that.
that's a great one. And if you can't spit it out and get their attention in literally 30 seconds, they're not interested anymore.
Yeah, well, but how do you capture interest in that? Because what do you do? If you give your pitch, you're like every other booth you just walk past, right?
Yeah, right. So if I'm going around the booths and I hear something like, we're like product X, but different.
Right.
Don't do that.
My response, what do? I drink coffee and know things.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's funny. Now, what do you do? That's another, a very quick trick. Instead of you pitching, let them pitch.
And it's asking the question back to the person, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
what
you
do you
don't
do?
know
What do
who's
you do?
standing in front of you when they go, what do you do?
No.
What do you do?
I mean,
are you an MSP? Are you my market?
They have a lanyard on, and it says some things, but one thing I think I've learned in this space is titles mean absolutely nothing but job responsibilities.
Yep.
They're not. They are not the same.
No,
You're-
and every organization is different.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
And so if you, hey, what do you do? Oh, actually I drink coffee. I know things are pretty cool.
Right.
I like long walks on the beach, whatever. Tell me, what are you looking for?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you
That's
could
the
be,
difference.
you could be talking to the CEO of an MSP, and he's like, "Well, I just need some idea of what you do because I got to loop all my people in. Like,
Yep.
It's not my
Yeah.
really my decision. They got to look at your product. I just got to know that, hey, that's cool. It sounds like it could work.
And to Sean's point, CEO in this industry can mean he's the CEO of a one-person company, or
Right, yeah.
He's
out
also
of
the
C-suite.
salesperson, the
Yeah.
marketing
Right.
person, the tech person.
Yes.
But as soon as you say, well, you walked up to me. What do you need?
What are you looking for?
Like, what are you looking for
Yeah.
exactly? And back to, he might be a CEO of a big company. He's like, and so he's not going to be maybe the stakeholder, the key stakeholder,
Right.
but he might say, I've been getting rumblings from my guys about this, and I noticed you have it written on your
Right.
on your banner.
Correct.
Oh yeah, we do that. But tell me what they've been asking for.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
he's heard about something in the industry that's maybe the new hot topic.
Exactly.
And then he sees some verbiage on your booth, and that's what's kind of caught his eye.
So that's such a good point. So I'm approaching this from the MSP side, right? And when I go up to a show and somebody repeats back what's on the banner, I just keep walking.
Right. And that's the thing. Well, it's okay. Window shopping is perfectly acceptable, right?
Yeah.
I don't want you to walk up to me if you have no interest in anything up there, right? Because you're wasting my time for the next person that does have interest, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. But if you want to walk up and say, hi, hey, I'm not really looking for any of this, but I like your swag. Cool.
Right.
Nice
Here's
to
the
meet
swag.
you. Now
Thanks.
I generate a friend, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, you want to have drinks later? Great. Because you're not closing every person that comes to you, ever.
Never at the show.
Ever. Or even
Not at the
afterwards,
show.
right?
Yeah.
The average industry standard is 25% close rate on qualified leads.
And you need to see people multiple times before they really
Exactly.
engage.
I mean, it's already a fact, 10 to 12 touch points you're looking
Correct,
at.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
whether that's in person or on the phone or through email, whatever.
Right.
You should be looking for that. You don't do business until after the 15th or 16th sometimes,
Yep. Yep.
Facts. So I'm okay if you don't want to buy what we have now. You may later. But I make a friend at least, because the name of the game is making friends first.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd rather have
Yes.
friends than deals.
I agree. And going back to just shows, you can't just go to shows and pack it up and say, hey, I did the circuit. I should be okay now. That goes away pretty quick. They forget
Oh.
about you. So my
Yes.
my kind of statement about shows is this is like the billboard on the highway, right? Cybersecurity is the highway. You've got a billboard. They see you drive. They drive to these shows and they come to these shows and they're walking by. They see you multiple times. Then they kind of engage. And if you disappear, they're going to forget about you pretty quick.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
I think
I would.
Yeah, of course. I mean, think about this. You see a lot of the same companies at the conferences.
Yep.
Why? Because they have to maintain their position.
Yes.
If they're not there, something's wrong. It's the same thing for Super Bowl ads, right? You see Pepsi and Coke every year, Anheuser-Busch every year. Why are they paying $1 million for a commercial? Because if they don't, something must be wrong.
Right.
Period.
Or you're going to buy some other beer.
Right. You're probably not, but
Yeah, but
Either
you're not
way.
going to gain any more people, right?
you're not going to gain, and you also it looks fragile.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You raised such a good point about being friends with someone. So when I used to go to shows, there were some vendors that when they heard how many endpoints I had, you could see dollar signs in their head, right? And it turned me off to them immediately. I didn't want to do business with them at all. Just be their friend.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, if I'm your friend, you're going to confide in me more stuff about what you need for your business.
Yeah.
That I can actually help you, and you can have the money signs in your head too. Fine, but money signs only come if you're actually providing a solution,
Yeah.
not just jamming things down their throat, saying you need this. No. The goal of a discovery is for you to discover the person's needs and wants. That's what when you generate a relationship, think of all your friendships, think of your relationships you've had. You always ask questions about them. What do you like? Where do you go? What do your friends do? You ask those questions. Those are all things that lead up to the personality and context of a relationship.
That's it.
It's a fact.
And this is a big ecosystem, but even though it's a big ecosystem, people talk, right?
Yeah.
And people point
Your
things
reputation
out.
follows
And
you.
I look at it as if they don't necessarily want to buy DefensX product because maybe they don't see a need for it or they just don't want to make a switch from another product. Whatever the case is, I'll still help them, with any other
Yeah.
questions. I would still be there to support them. And I've taken some people that I've met that, fairly large MSPs that I
Yeah.
know and I created a friendship. They're not using my product, but I've taken them in other booths and said, you should check this product out.
Right.
and then they come back to me and say, "Oh, I really appreciate you taking me. That's an outstanding product."
That's a huge point. Being a connector. If I can't solve your problem, that's fine. But if I have a friend that can, and I don't introduce you guys, I did a service to both of you. I could have been like, here you go. Again, so I didn't get the business. I got a friend, I got another friend, and things come back around.
And if you do that, right, who am I going to go to first when you can solve my issue?
Yep, you're coming right back to the person that helped
That's right.
you.
Yeah.
And you build this alliance amongst each other as vendors and as partners.
Yeah.
I mean, in my life, a lot of my business was done because I have MSP advocates that will tell people that they tell other companies they can trust me because they trust me.
Mhm.
They're willing to put their name on the line because they trust me and the work I've done for them, that they're okay with telling somebody else. If you can get to that level, you've done well.
Yeah. All right, so we have one more question that we ask everyone who comes on the show, and I'll ask both of you the same thing, and it is for the other vendors watching or for the MSPs watching, what is one habit that they should either start doing or that they should stop doing, something they should start or break?
I think it just comes back to you pay a lot of money to come to these shows. These are not cheap shows, right? It's a big budget. So utilize it. Make sure you're getting your dollars out of this. And don't, just because the booths are closed, don't go to your room. Don't go sit in your room and watch a movie or answer emails. Yes, you got to work, but make sure you're out and about. You got to be working it all day, every day, right to the bitter end. And you'll see the results from that. And like I said, these are expensive, so get your money out of it. Make sure you get your money out of it for sure.
Sean, same question.
You're spot on about that. It's about taking up as much real estate as you paid for, right?
Yeah.
I think also set the proper expectation of what you're going to the show for. Far too many people think that you come to a show and you get an ROI.
Yes.
No, shows are an investment. They're absolutely an investment.
Yes.
Okay, so set KPIs,
Correct.
not ROIs. The KPIs are building relationships, generating leads. That's what shows are for.
Yeah.
Sharing the word about your company and what you guys do. And then have a process to follow up to lead to potential ROI.
Yeah. And just to add one other thing, actually, just popped in my head is when you leave a show, don't email your leads right away. You need to give a little bit of a window. Let them get back. Let them get settled. Let them answer the millions of emails they haven't been answering while they've been gone. And let the other vendors send all the emails first.
It's
so you don't
true.
get jammed in there.
When I
and
come
they
back from
forget.
a show, I have a heavy delete button.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I
Oh my
create-
God.
I
Another
create
vendor.
roles.
Another vendor.
I create a room outlook sometimes because you see the same tagline.
Yeah.
The subject line says the same thing. It will say,
Right.
like from this conference, it will say, IT Nation Secure. For
Right.
sure, I was saying it, right?
Yep.
If I get anything in there, there's a role created. If it sees that, go to its own place.
Right.
Yeah.
And one last thing on that. If you're there, first off, we have technology. My phone is right here. Your phone's right. It's easy to just scan and link on LinkedIn
Yeah.
or something else and send a personalized note to somebody.
Yeah.
Great meeting you, talking about X. Make sure let's get together, man, later on.
Yeah.
Whatever. But you have to have a personal tie-in. It's one thing to say, great meeting you, IT Nation Secure, or want to follow up on your interest. Great, whatever. But no, if you had if we shared an experience on something we talked about, why not list it?
That's
in
it.
that?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Like how many times we've been out
Yes.
and we've talked to people and maybe it's over a beer and you go, hey, remember we met and we talked with Sean and we were having a beer and some laughs and blah, blah, blah. That's
Whatever
a key
it is.
trigger,
Yeah.
right?
Remember
for
I
that.
told you I had that same hat? Here it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Dave, Sean, thank you for coming on. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.